Sorry, Ben. There's no Scotch available right now, so it's just
It's okay.
Stalwarts.
It's all right.
I joked that I spiked my coffee. But yeah, we deviated from the name of the show.
I took Sudafed this morning. Does that count?
Hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking high as balls on Sudafed.
Are you not feeling well?
I got this cold.
A sinus infection, from what I heard.
Oh my god, I haven't seen the N7 mask on the stand.
Oh, it looks so good, right?
I love your little game controller sign you have
right?
now. Where did you get that from?
Walmart.
That's cute as fuck.
It was $12 at Walmart, and it
Shut
has
up.
Yeah, it's adorable.
it auto offs after 4 hours, which
That's
I was
awesome.
like, that's perfect.
It looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I'm waiting for it to turn off in the middle of your stream, and then someone's like, "Did you know?"
yeah, it was really. Your light turned off. Like, they don't want that though, because that's 4 hours. That's how long I have to stream. So if when the light goes off every day, I'm
no.
yeah,
Time
I'm
to
like,
go.
oh, video game time's over, motherfuckers. Guess what?
No.
Yeah, no, but I don't have a sinus infection.
Oh,
But
okay.
That's
That's
good.
what I
I
heard
was-
this morning. I felt really
Well,
bad.
I was worried that I did, but yesterday I was like, I went through a box and a half of tissues. Like it was nuts. I've never had, it's a cold for sure.
Oofers.
Yay, changing weather.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love that it says your Discord says you're playing BlueStacks 5.
it does. It does. Cause I accidentally leave up my mobile games to play all day. I'm super addicted to Marvel Future Revolution.
I know
have-
it says you're playing that.
I
right
have
now.
a level 100 Doctor Strange, which is like, it was max level.
According to this, you have been playing this session for 15 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah, 'cause
Christ, Ben.
I left my computer on overnight, so it's been going for that long. Wow. Yeah, they're under me.
Tim, is this good enough cold open for you?
Huh?
This is the coldest.
Is this a good
this is
enough
the
cold
coldest
open?
fucking open.
please don't open it like this. Don't.
Well, here we are. We're episode 59 of Star Wars and Scotch.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
So Ben, Tim hates cold open, so I
cold
try and
open so much.
I try and trick him into doing them as often as I possibly can.
Oh man, god damn it.
So this was perfect.
That was a really
talked
good
about,
cold
we
open.
talked about shit. We talked
Thank
about
you.
his cold. Like what the hell?
Yeah. A cold open.
Oh my god. Can I just say that like when I open up my email, every morning I have like a block of invites from Mindy. That's like here's like it's just like everything y'all decide in the office. I'm like, oh, work was done yesterday.
Well, it's better than the old days where you had no emails, and that was more troublesome.
And the emails that I get are the random, hello, we have been monitoring traffic on your Facebook page. We'd like to put ads there for $7,000 a week.
Oh, fantastic.
I get those every day.
So do you just like do $7
What's
grand a
that?
week? And what do they want? They want you to
They
like
want-
post a picture or
No,
something?
they want to like take over your page.
Oh,
Yeah.
your entire page for $7 grand a week. No, thank
Are
you.
we,
Ah, yeah.
are we actually doing the podcast right now?
Yeah, we are. This is the cold open.
We're never going to get invited to Star Wars Celebration like
You're
this.
gonna get invited to Star Wars Celebration.
Welcome to episode 59 of Star Wars and Scotch. Today we are joined by Professor Broman, Ben Bowman, also the CSO at Rare Drop, co-owner of King's Coast. It's like, you know. But we brought Ben on specifically because we're going to talk about Dune today, and we had a really good conversation over dinner about Dune. So we wanted to bring Ben in to extend that, which I already have something that I researched for Tim that I want to touch on. But before we go any further, I would like to remind everyone that Holiday Blend is available and cocoa is available at kingscoastcoffee.com. Shipping is completely screwed this year.
Yeah.
So order now.
Please, for the
If
love
you
of
wanna
God.
give coffee and cocoa to your loved ones for the holidays, order now. Now, right now. Stop what you're doing. Go to kingscoastcoffee.com. Place your order because shipping is a mess this year. A mess.
Big mess.
Huge.
A mess. So go take care of that and get that coffee and that cocoa, which, by the way, the cocoa comes in a lovely collector's little tube, and it's great for stocking stuffers
Yes.
and whatnot.
Very good.
So in the world of Star Wars this week, there was the trailer for the Book of Boba Fett dropped. And you know, Tim and I have expressed numerous times that we're really not the biggest fans of the Boba Fett character.
I take it back. I'm sorry.
Nah, I'm still on the fence. I did say, and Ben, I'll share this with you. If they're gonna go some sort of ethical underworld boss route, I'm not gonna like that because the underworld of Star Wars is so good. And if we're gonna start making the underworld bosses like these ethical, moral people that and the only reason I mention that is because of the way they're like Jabba ruled with fear, you know, and speak your mind. I'm hoping after he says speak your mind and the guy speaks out of turn, he shoots him in the face, but that's just my personal thing. I think that would make Boba Fett a better character than this like moral. The whole thing with Mandalorian, like I liked him in Mandalorian, but I didn't like that he was like, I'm a man of my word. You know, it's like, no, you're a bounty hunter. You're a backstabbing piece of shit who goes around the galaxy and does things for credits. So I don't know. That was my vibe.
Okay.
That I was.
All right. So I will counter that with I watched Star Wars Explain their video. I watched Alex's video on the trailer. And I think he did a really good job pointing out that the way Timothy Zahn wrote Thrawn and how Thrawn is like the opposite. Timothy Zahn wrote Thrawn to be the opposite of Vader. Like he was supposed to be that like imperial bad guy, but he's still like he's the opposite of what Vader would do. Like Vader goes in with full emotion and just like kind of like cuts down and just thinks about it after. Thrawn, on the other hand, he thinks about everything before he ever makes a step. Like he's like 10 steps ahead before anybody else. And so I think what they're doing here is they're kind of creating that same type of scenario where he's kind of, again, he's the anti-hero. He's kind of in it for himself, but he's definitely like more like leaning more to the good than he is leaning to the bad within like that gray area within the middle. Because I think they want to make sure that it still appeals to the young crowd. Again, let's go back to the argument that Star Wars was made for kids, but we also know that the fans of the prequel, like the people our age are getting older, and their taste for Star Wars is still there, but they want to see it through a different lens. I think they did that really well in Rogue One. They showed a darker side of Star Wars. And so this is going to be that dark side of Star Wars. It's going to be those fun stories that they've always wanted to tell that doesn't involve a lightsaber wielding Force user. This is going to be just going to show the dark, grimy things that you wouldn't see in the normal Star Wars lens.
Ben, what's your overall reaction from the trailer before I start pulling details out of it?
I mean, I'm always excited to see more of a side of Star Wars that we haven't seen. And the idea of getting like a story in the underworld, like squarely grounded in the underworld, where it's not really, it's not where it's not a brief foray into like, here's where the scoundrels are. And you're like, ooh, they were weird. You know, finding out how that universe operates and doing that side of the universe operates and doing like, you know, a whole series about it, I think is going to be really interesting. It'll come down to the writing though.
100%. I would have to agree.
And the other thing that makes me think about, you know, when we look at like episode 8 and the whole conflict that they introduce with finance and economy and everything like that. And like everybody buys war. You know, that is something that the underworld is like really connected to. So I'm very interested to see if we get some more of that sort of, I mean, you see it in Star Wars Visions too, like this discussion of how the Empire and how the Republic affect the people that they are helping, air quotes, and the impacts that they have on the planets and the economies and the lives of the people that they technically interfere with, you know. So I'm excited to see that side of the universe, and hopefully some more shit will make sense.
I think one of the things that I am excited to see is a more fleshed out version of what we've seen in the animated series. They've really touched on the underworld and what's going on there. And in the movies and TV shows, it's always like a quick in passing. I think the most we've ever seen of it in the TV show is probably Mandalorian, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
but in the animated like Clone Wars and stuff, we see way more of this side of the universe.
Yeah. I really hope with the show we get closure. You and I had talked about this in the last episode, and someone had said to me on Twitter, they listened to the episode and they're like, hey, there's an excerpt somewhere where they talk about how how Jabba's ship crashed into when Luke blew it up, it had crashed into the Sarlacc pit, killing the Sarlacc. And that is what allowed Boba Fett to crawl out.
Okay.
And I don't remember that. They said it was in Aftermath, and I don't remember it being in Aftermath. But I like that theory. I thought that was a really interesting theory. Because they don't show that in the movie. They just show the ship blowing up and that's it. But the idea of it actually like crashing into the Sarlacc and somehow killing it could be interesting. It could be an interesting way to show how Boba came out. But I really do hope that we get a flashback to that. But I want to bring that up because I thought that was really cool that someone like listened to the episode and tweeted at us about it. So thanks. Keep doing that.
You know what's funny? They keep showing Jabba's throne. Like they showed it at the end of Mando, and then they show it in this. But Jabba actually never sits on that throne because he's too fucking big.
Yeah, it's just a concrete slab.
So what it is if you look at the old images, the wall behind him has those like glyphs. I don't know what they are. They're not Aurebesh, so they're glyphs or whatever. Is on the wall behind him, and then he's on that platform.
Yeah,
the one where Leia sits in front of him and his little Kowakian monkey lizard. But the throne has the same glyphs on it, and I guess Bib maybe.
Wait, are you talking about the Rancor heads that are sticking out?
No. I'll send you.
Or are you talking about the wording behind them that's in basic?
Is that basic or Aurebesh behind him on that throne? It doesn't look like it. It looks like something else.
I don't know, but the Rancor heads I think came from weren't they? Didn't they put them up in the corners? Like on the pillars or something. There was something like where they got it. They talk about it in one of the episodes where they talk about where they got the influence to create that throne. But they said that they had to do a complete 1-to-1 because they didn't have any of that left over from Return of the Jedi. And then when they
of the room,
so they
not the throne,
right? Not the throne, but the room. The room is a perfect, exact replica of the set that they had for Return of the Jedi. And I just thought that was so neat. They had to go through reference pictures. They had to go through blueprints. They had to go through the movie. Just to make sure that everything looked exactly the same because they knew a Star Wars fan would be like, it's not real. No way.
I just sent you the last shot of from Mando, the pan out.
Yep.
And the throne is on the platform that Jabba sits on.
Yes.
So I know they talk about Jabba's throne all the time,
Yeah.
but Jabba doesn't actually sit on the throne because he's just big,
He's
fat,
just
and
laying
disgusting.
on it.
The
Kowakian monkey lizard's there on the right. He's just really fat and old. Look at him. Look at that picture you just sent me.
Oh my God, he is. He's like leaned up against there.
He looks like he's dead.
I was gonna say unless
Taking a
Fennec
nap.
or Boba shot him.
But yeah, he's still there. He's just really fat and old. Aw.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's adorable.
I did not notice that. So yeah, I always I don't know that when I saw the throne and they were talking about it like Jabba ruled with fear, it reminded me of that. One other thing too, did you find it interesting that it's Din's voice in the beginning of the trailer?
I didn't realize that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, the beginning of the trailer is Din's voice. At least that's what I heard. Like the first part of it. Isn't that Mandalorian? No.
No, he's talking. No, that's not Din.
Are you sure?
Yes, 100% sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds just like him
when
to me.
when he says I've heard otherwise. Yeah, that's not Din.
Okay.
No.
Do you think we see Din in the series? I do.
I think we'll have a pull in. I think at some point we'll have a crossover. I would really hope that there's a mention of Ahsoka or we get an Ahsoka appearance of some sort that they cross paths. I think that'd be really neat.
Someone did a whole theory on how this could lead into Ahsoka hunting Thrawn.
So yeah, I saw that there is
That
the
would be
possibility
spicy.
of some connections. I mean, like they mention him in Mandalorian. It'd be silly for them not to continue those type of teasers. I would love that. I'd probably tear up a little bit.
So I don't know. The most interesting part is we finally see Jabba's, I guess, captains, lieutenants. I don't know what they're called. And it almost looks like a very big table that looks like there's probably at least 10 of them sitting there, but they also don't obviously trust Boba, so they're talking about how they are going to kill him. But he seems to have this like open forum democratic process that he wants to introduce into their gang. Does Jabba's gang have a name?
I think it's just the Hut. I think it's just the Hut Syndicate. Because it's not just
But he didn't
Jabba's,
lead the whole Hut.
No, but it's not just like he's a part of a larger organization. Like they're a part of the Hut family. I don't think Jabba's individual gang has a name, does it? Jabba and the boys.
His swoop gang.
Jabba and the boys, dude.
But I mean, like for this, I really hope we get to see more of like those other gangs. Like what's going on with the Black Sun? Like what are they up to?
Well, someone was saying if Kira's still alive, and
we
they
know that
already
she
said
is.
She's coming back to do more because she just showed up in the comic books. Is Kira going to come in and, is she running Black? We assume that she probably was running Black Sun all through the reign of the Empire. And then, well, no, because she was working for Darth Maul.
Well, yeah, but Darth Maul ran off and went crazy, remember? So we don't know what happened. Okay, so we see Maul again in Rogue One, and he's telling her to assemble the fleet. We see the guy who she was working for talking the hologram with Maul on Mandalore. He's bringing them all together. So I think what happens is that we saw at the end of Clone Wars, we saw Maul escape, and then he talked to Kira and was like, okay, let's go. So that was the end of Rogue One. And then after the end of Rogue One starts Rebels.
Solo, not Rogue One.
Sorry, Solo. No? Solo. So Solo. At the end of Solo, and then he flies off, and then we start Rebels.
Damn.
Okay.
Like that Rebels, and
so Kira is probably running the show.
Yeah, 100%. Because so he goes off, and then he starts to go crazy with this whole fixation on Kenobi. So there's
only been what 15. How old is Luke at that point? So Rebels. So it's probably been 15 years.
Yeah.
Around.
Because Luke at the beginning of Rebels is like 6 or 7.
Which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we discussed that on another episode.
You'd have to be like 16.
So it's been like 15, 20 years.
Yes.
Okay. So Kira, an older version of Kira.
Yes, and remember this is 15 years before episode 7. With Boba Fett.
An older version of Kira could show up.
Yeah, and they could age her a little bit.
Yeah, slightly. She could be like aging gracefully. It's also a galaxy far, far away. We don't know the, face creams and stuff that they operate with. Could be anything. Other than that, it was just lots of cool little, the dudes with the shields around Boba.
Yeah.
I like the view of, I'm assuming that's not Mos Eisley, and that is a different city
the
on
one with
Tatooine.
the big pillar in the middle.
Yeah.
We don't even know if that's Tatooine.
Well, Jabba's palace is on Tatooine.
Well, we know that.
Assume.
We don't know if this is another what do they call them? They have a specific name for those different outposts. But yeah, so I mean, like I don't know if this is the terrain looks so different from everything else on Tatooine. That's I have a hard time believing that this is Tatooine.
I don't know if this translates to canon, so I'm going to mention Legends, but Mos Espa is the capital of Tatooine in Legends, and that's where the Empire operates from for many years. So it might be Mos Espa, because Mos Pelgo is where we go in Mandalorian when we meet what's his face, Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah, when we get his armor. So do we assume that the entire season is just going to be here on Tatooine? Because I would have assumed they'd take not Slave One anymore. The is it the Firefly?
It's just called Boba's ship now.
No, it has an actual name now. They gave it a name.
Oh, on the toy it just says Boba's ship.
Oh, but they named it officially in canon. They named it what they call that class of ship. It's like Firefly or something like that. Anyways. I would hope that we take it out for a spin and go to another planet in the Outer Rim.
It's a modified Fire Spray 31 class patrol
Fire
attack
Spray,
craft.
and they call it the Fire Spray.
According to Wikipedia, it's still called Slave One.
I don't know. A lot of people they made so much noise about it on Twitter. Could you believe?
Yes, I could.
Welcome to 2021.
45-year-old movie. Yes, I
It's
could.
time to change a little bit.
Nah, it's fine. No big deal. But yeah, aside from that, there wasn't, I love the
I'm
the
excited
noise when
for
they
it.
showed the What do you think your little spider buddy is? He's obsessed with this spider in the beginning, Ben.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I've seen this thing before, but it looks like it's out of the Matrix. I feel like there's an embryo in there. I feel like it's like growing. It's like a baby.
And that looks like a droid to me, though, not
It is
organic.
Yeah, no, it is a droid, but it has fluid in that pod it's holding in its mouth. It's like sloshing around. It's 100% robotic, but I think it's caring for what if he's starting his own cloning facility on Tatooine?
Oh shit.
What if it's like a guard of the palace, and if you get too close, it just like sprays you or something?
Ah, I mean, that could also be.
That'd be
I don't know.
That'd be exciting.
I will say this, looking in the background and whatnot, I 100% believe that this is not going to take place. We might go to Anchorhead at one point or Mos Eisley,
Yeah.
but for the most part, this does not. It looks like this. So you see this Athorian sitting in the I don't want to say throne, but the seat in the beginning.
Yes.
It looks like that's either another crime boss or another part
So
of.
a lot of people thought that was Doc Ondar.
Oh shit.
Oh,
It's not.
shit.
It's not.
Damn.
It's not a Doc Ondar. But a lot of people assumed that it was because Doc Ondar has a lot of ties to the underworld. He was invited to join the Black Sun at one point. So yeah, they thought it was him, but he's not dressed properly. He doesn't have the same facial hair. It is 15 years before you would meet him in Black Spire Outpost, but it would be weird for him to be sitting in this luxurious room in this throne, and then you find him all the way out in this backwater planet on Batu. So
That spider is 1000% carrying an embryo of some kind.
right, it's growing something.
Like it is definitely carrying an embryo of some type.
What I'm saying, I think, mate, what if he's starting his own cloning facility?
They could be well, I mean, like, okay, so I mean, he's a clone.
Yep.
So he knows that there's only one way to like actually have progeny that he would consider viable, right? And that would be he'd need to clone himself again and raise himself again. So like it's
Could you imagine?
I'm imagining right now, and I'm really but yeah, no, I agree with Tim. Why do you need like a heavily armored goddamn spider walking around? And look, it's even got like shit. Let's skip to the next. I don't care about damn it. I don't care about Matrix 4. Something's in there, and it's also got on the underside, it has a circular arm, right? Almost like it's designed to lift up and pull the thing down and like maneuver it. So that like could be an all-terrain valuable fragile asset transport spider. Because in the future, ATVs blow.
So these are just so these things actually have a name.
Okay.
They're called the Bomar Order.
Okay.
These are called Bomar monks. It was a religious order that believed in
I
isolating
remember
themselves. Okay, so here it is. So it says it was a religious order that believed in isolating themselves from all physical sensation to enhance the power of their minds. To that aim, Ben, it's a brain that's floating in it, not a baby. We talked about this, Kevin.
We talked
We
about
talked about these guys.
Jabba's palace used to be their temple.
Oh my
So-
God.
Yes.
So now they like roam the wasteland like that.
Yeah, to that aim, enlightened monks had their brains transplanted into nutrient-filled jars. Whenever they wanted to move, those bottled brains used spider-like droid walkers. Older monks using 4-legged walkers, while more recent ones using 6-legged variants. Yeah, so this is a religious order that, in order to be enlightened, they remove their brains and put them in vats.
That's so cool.
That's so wild.
I'm looking at the table again, and you were right. It's just Transdoshans and whatever that other race is that I can't remember.
The dog guys.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm.
There's no other. I thought there was. There's a few of what are the? I forget what race they are too. There's so many races in Star Wars. There's a few of one other race. The dudes that Cara Dune kills at the beginning of season 2 in where the Forge Master's forge was. Those guys.
Don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Aside from that, man, that's gonna bother me. Are they Bothan? No, they're not Bothan. No.
You Bothan, bro.
Bothan looks like cats. Anyway. The Bith? Are they? No, they're not Bith. This is gonna bother me, Tim. I'm screenshotting it. Anything? Oh, one other thing I wanted to ask you before we move on. Omega. Do we see a live action Omega in this?
I don't think so, because then it would ruin her story for the next season of The Bad Batch.
So the same reason that when everyone's like, I want to see Cal Kestis, the same reason we're not going to see Cal Kestis.
Yeah, because then it would ruin his story with everything going on with Jedi Fallen Order.
Because then there's no fear of him dying.
Exactly. If you see Omega in Book of Boba Fett, now if he makes mention of an Omega and he makes mention that he is an Alpha, then that would be very interesting to me. If there is some record or recollection of Omega, that would be awesome. I would love a nod to that. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think so. This is going to be all about Boba. I would love for him to make callbacks to Clone Wars episodes. I think that'd be really cool because he had run-ins with the Jedi. I think that would be really, really neat. It would help create that immersive effect of continuity across the multiple variations of storytelling that they've created here. But I don't think we're going to see anything from the Bad Batch yet, because then it would spoil the story.
Man, could you imagine if the Bad Batch just showed up at the end of this?
That would be such a mindfuck, though. They'd be so old. He's so old.
Yeah, they'd be as old as what's his face is in Return of the Jedi.
They'd be in Rebels. They would be like old and fat, and it looked like
but even older than that is what's his face?
Oh, they're Gen 1s though. They're older than Cody. Yeah, they would be. They would be old. They'd be like decrepit. They'd look like Clone 99.
Unless their modifications are different.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody had the aging a bit, but I'm not sure.
And lastly, from the trailer, you got your two good-looking Twi'leks in here that I'm sure
you have to, dude. Crime and sex, like they go hand in hand.
Yes, it's always Twi'leks though,
because they're the sexy ones. They were made that way.
Whatever you're into.
Hey,
that's what George wanted.
They are on the right path, baby. They are born that way. Okay. Lady Gaga taught us to be better.
Those gorgeous Leku that they have. I feel like they would get in the way, but that's a conversation for another day.
Oh my God.
You just tie back. You're fine.
Dude, I would love to bring a sexologist on your podcast and talk for 3 hours about sex and the Star Wars universe, because I feel like shit is weird out there. Well, it's weird.
Here's my question with that, since we're going to go off on a tangent before we talk about Dune. Almost always, it seems there's like interspecies attraction,
Absolutely.
Right? So why don't we see more children that are hybrid, aside from the son of Kanan and what's her face, Tim?
Hera?
And Hera. He's the only one that I've seen that is like representative of two different species in Star Wars.
I feel like it's because the offspring would traditionally be non-viable, right? Genetic codes are too different. So you can fool around, but you're not going to have a kiddo. It's the ultimate birth control.
He's half Twi'lek and half human, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
I would love to see a half human, half Wookiee.
Oh, my God.
I don't know what that would look like.
Really hairy Italian guy. Probably look like that.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't go. He just goes.
Hey. This fur is hot. Hey. Be like that.
They haven't really done anything with Jason Syndulla, but they showed him briefly when they were wrapping up. Did you watch Rebels, Ben?
No. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I know I need to.
It's a very good. The first season's very.
I'm gonna go back to bed after this fucking podcast, so maybe I'll watch it today.
The first season is very Disney XD, but after that, then it becomes its own part of the universe.
Can we talk?
He's an ugly looking kid.
Can we talk about how Disney named it Disney XD before XD became a way to like mock people in lead speak? Disney XD, and then 10 years later, it's like, dude, looking for big titty goth GF XD. Like,
and Disney was like, "What?"
Disney missed it, man. That could have been their whole internet company.
I never made that connection.
Happened to me just now. Yeah, this is fucking ruin everything.
I'm sorry for ruining everything.
What are you watching right now? Disney XD? Okay, that's hilarious, but what are you actually fucking watching, you sarcastic shit? It's Disney XD. I swear to God. We're not doing this again, Michael.
Oh man. Well, we all watched Dune.
We did.
I got to watch half of it a second time. I have not watched it through again, but I've done my my due diligence. I think everyone here agrees that it was phenomenal.
So good.
That it was
super fun.
Good.
It was cinema. I will go as far to say, and if you listen to the show or you know me as a person, you will know what I'm about to say is a big deal. I think when this story is done being told, it will be on par with Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and things of that nature that are staples of our high fantasy science fiction pop culture, if you will. I think it will become that. And I think that we are in an age of intellectual properties taking precedent over a single shot story if it has the meat on the bone. And Dune 100% has the meat on the bone to tell stories through 100 different mediums if they choose. You know, the rumor of the next one being about the Bene Gesserit, the Sisters of the Dunes is going to be a TV show. That's a rumor with Warner Brothers HBO. But we thank God got confirmation that Dune Part 2 is coming in 2023.
That's so long.
So that was... It'll go by so quick.
Are they doing the Peter Jackson thing where they're just doing one long filming session, or are they actually stopping and going?
Well, they had to film I think they wrapped filming as COVID was hitting.
Oh.
So then everything just screwed up the timelines that they had envisioned for it. If you remember, it was supposed to come out last year.
Oh, right. Wow. Okay.
And they pushed it because they wanted to see if they could get it back in theaters because they knew releasing it. And then HBO signed all those deals with all those movies to be like, hey, everyone's stuck at home.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. I know that Denis Villeneuve, the director, was super pissed that it was available on HBO Max because he truly believes he made a movie that was to be experienced in IMAX theaters.
Yeah.
Which I've heard from people that have seen it in IMAX that he wasn't kidding. And you said, Tim, even that you watched it on your widescreen monitor and it filled up the entire screen.
It filled up a decent amount of the screen. I was really surprised. I was like, oh, this is a very interesting view on a movie. It was fun.
So one thing that you had asked at dinner was, why don't they use guns?
Oh,
right?
yeah. Okay. So that was one of the things that I found really interesting in Dune. As someone who's never read the books and someone who watched the movie, and this is my introduction into the Dune universe, which I'm now hooked. I think this is a very, very interesting universe that has been created. It's really weird for me to see a race of people that have they have space travel. They're able to go from system to system. And they have orbital cannons. They've got ground to air cannons. They've got all these type of space weaponry that you would assume to have in a sci-fi movie or book. And then you watch the ground combat, and it's nothing but swords and daggers and almost a medieval take on combat. And I thought that was really interesting, but it didn't make sense to me.
I have your answer, and it's in the movie. When Paul is sparring with Gurney.
Yes, I remember this.
And I think that's the first time you hear the "fear is the mind killer" line. Do you remember the second half of the line?
No.
Gurney says the slow blade penetrates the shield.
Yes.
They cannot shoot each other because the bullets will not be able to penetrate their shields. So they have to have this elegant combat. And the reason Duncan and Gurney are like some of the best warriors in the entire universe is because they can move fast enough, but also slow enough to penetrate a shield without having to. Remember when the Doctor was doing it to Leto and it had to like burrow through the shield to get in?
Yeah.
Duncan and Gurney are so elegant with a blade that they can move fast and slow enough to get through your shield with a stab. But the bullets can't penetrate the shield. So that's
that just
why
seems
they
like
don't use
that just seems
ammunition.
like an easy way, easy way out of just saying you want to use swords in your book. Because like for me, you could use like EMP rounds. Like you could I've played so many different types of sci-fi shooters. Like I could just use it like a disruptor round and break their shields and then shoot through it. But like for me, I just thought that was just a really cool take on this. Again, you said like this very elegant combat. And it was weird to see how they kept true to how the movie was made, like in the 80s. A lot of things felt very analog, a lot like Alien. Like you go through an Alien, it's supposed to be this very futuristic take on what the world would be like, what would space be like, right? But they didn't have all the cool technology that we have now. So they try to, what would it look like? And it's still very analog looking, and they kept true to that. And a lot of the shots are still like they felt old. Like when you saw a planet, it looked like I was watching an old Star Wars movie. Like that old, you could tell like it was added in there post, and they had to like manually do the glow and all that stuff by hand, and they kept true to that. I thought that was really neat.
So in the book, this book didn't come out till 2002. It was written by Brian Herbert, who's Frank Herbert's son. So a very similar situation to Chris Tolkien and J.R. Tolkien, where he took his father's notes and wrote the rest of the story. The Butlerian Jihad, it's called, is the story of humanity facing this enemy AI that, when we had thinking machines, decided it wanted to take over the universe, and how the Imperium, well, at the time it wasn't the Imperium because the Imperium forms after the war is over. They battle against it. So then they vowed to never have thinking machines. They have basic computing, but they don't have thinking machines, which is why even Paul's compass is analog. The gyrocopters have all, instruments that would be considered, you have to drive it by hand. But it also, again, enhances the fact that these folks are good pilots. They're,
right.
Good warriors. Again, it creates this universe where it's very elegant. That's the best way to put it. It's a very elegant warfare, if you will.
I mean, you could even tell by the way that they dress. And I thought that was really neat how, again, they hold on to this very old take, but then they still have a very futuristic setting behind it. And so it was this really neat amalgamation of two different takes on like periods and kind of melding them together. It was really cool.
I think you can see the inspiration too to Star Wars, because the way the machinery works in Star Wars, the only thinking machines are droids, which essentially to Star Wars, they're technically people.
Like almost slaves.
Right. Well, sometimes they're used as slaves. That's what a restraining bolt is for. But if they don't have a restraining bolt, you can consider them.
Yeah, just kind of free thinking people. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just not organic.
Right.
They're manufactured. But there are people that will say R2-D2 is my favorite character. C-3PO is my favorite character.
Yeah.
K2SO was the best thing in Rogue One.
Mm.
And I think that the technology is advanced enough to create these things, but drawing, from Dune, because again, Dune came first. The machinery that they use to pilot, the machinery that they use to do all of this stuff, slightly more advanced, but definitely not this like thinking computer level. Now, there's legend stuff where there's AI and all that whatnot, but I'm talking baseline inspiration for A New Hope.
Yeah.
That's what you get. Even the targeting computers, they're, switch to manual.
Yeah.
And you have the, so it's very, very similar in that sense. And then one other parallel that I found interesting, and Alex, Star Wars Explained, pointed out, was both are young men realizing their destiny, one leaving a desert planet, the other one going to a desert planet to experience their true calling, their purpose, their destiny. So
that's funny. I had a hard time finding, like, a lot of people were like saying that Star Wars took from Dune or vice versa. I had a really hard time seeing a lot of that. I felt like I kept on trying to find it. I kept on trying to find those things that connected it, and I just couldn't find it.
I think it was more an aesthetic and less of, storytelling inspiration. I think it was the same way that Star Trek and Star Wars intersect. They don't really overlap.
Yeah.
But the idea of mankind going out and exploring space is Star Trek. Star Wars is almost post that. We have explored space. We have charted this part of the galaxy. And this is the politics and the bullshit that came with all of that.
Interesting.
And Dune is even farther than that to me. Dune is like, the politics and the bullshit have been established.
Yeah.
We have this Imperium, and everyone fucking hates each other. And everyone's going to smile to their face and stab everyone else in the back. So it's more of a polite, undermining, like you have the Bene Gesserit working with the Harkonnens to kill Leto Atreides.
Yeah.
In Star Wars, it's much more direct. Like, I'm the Emperor. I'm going to subvert everything and then overthrow.
Huh.
It's kind of the path. Go ahead, Ben.
I was gonna say what I really enjoyed about the movie, everything about Dune is about, like, even from the combat, like, it's about timing. Like, the whole movie's about timing, right? Like, the Emperor's using, like, combat's timing based, right? Like, you have to, that's why the people who are good at fighting can go like, whoop, ooh, slow, now you're dead, right? Like, they've mastered these intermediary movements, and that's how you fight. And the timing of everything is what drives the story, right? Like, House Atreides is called to take over for Harkonnen at the right time, when it suits the Emperor. So, like, you really see, like, the grand strategy of all of it. And I think that they do a really good job, because they show instead of tell throughout the entire movie. Like, they show you what House Harkonnen and House Atreides, like, you learn about their cultures in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Really fast. You learn about it through architecture. You learn about it through character design. You learn about it through, obviously, the acting. But you learn. So, like, when they show you House Harkonnen's homeworld, you're like, this feels like a really dark version of the Matrix, right? Like, it felt like these are the people who decided that modifying their bodies and doing whatever they can with technology to make themselves stronger, it's very obvious. They don't have to go through all this exposition. And then when you see House Atreides and the way that they present themselves, that's the other thing, is because you're dealing with, like, interplanetary royalty, like, something that I felt like the older stuff doesn't do is there's not enough scope to show why there's so much rigidity in the way people behave. But in this movie, you see everybody acting unto their culture, unto their family, and the individual is kind of considered last. And that's part of the storytelling in my mind for Dune, is that, like, it's a savior story, but the savior is unwilling, unwitting, unknowing, and is an individual caught up in this giant cultural tide of things that have been going on for centuries. I also love after he has his test, when the Bene Gesserit is leaving, she says, the path has been laid for him. We have other options. We're very patient. So like you even know, like, in the story experience, they set it up that this dude could just be fucked. And honestly, everybody kind of expects him to fuck up, because she's leaving pissed off that he survived the trial. She doesn't think he's an adequate candidate. So you have
and that's her grandson, by the way.
And then all of the unique genetics that goes into, like, making our savior in this story. Even his own existence seems manufactured. And
very much so.
And you see him learning about that, and he screams at his mom, like, you made me a freak, which he delivered that line very well. He didn't sound like a whiny baby, which I was impressed by, because, like,
no, Timothy Chalamet was on point. He did not sound like Hayden Christensen is Anakin Skywalker.
No, you could hear the pain in his voice of being just so utterly confused. And at that point, you've seen all of the people pulling the strings on him, and you're like, how could you not have a fucking emotional breakdown in the middle of the desert?
Yeah.
I
So
I
I
would
really
say
like
that
that.
Dune has more. I would say that Dune has more in common with Game of Thrones than it does with Star Wars.
Definitely.
Because, like you said, the individual is last. That's very much the Game of Thrones mentality.
Oh,
With the representation of the houses, and then Jon Snow and Paul have a shitload in common, in my opinion.
oh yeah. Well, and the other thing that I really love about they just do so many little things to show you the grand scale, right? Like when the emissary shows up from the Emperor, and I forget the guy's name, but they're like human calculator dude. You know, they ask him, how much did this cost for this measure? Like, it's literally a formality, and they spent billions of dollars on a formality for one guy and a group of people to show up and ask House Atreides to go to Arrakis. Like, the scale of wealth, I thought they did again, it's a small thing, but it's right there. How rich are people? People are so rich that they will spend billions of dollars to have some motherfucker show up and read you a letter. Like, like that is the level of the scale of wealth, right?
They're called mentats.
Mentat, that was it.
So, so I want to go back to the whole AI thing.
Yes.
How is he able to make those calculations? Like, his eyes roll back when he asks him how much is this going to cost him, and he's able to like instantly like just do the calculations and then tell him. Like, his eyes roll back. What is that?
So in place of AI, certain humans have been given the gift to think like computers, and they're called mentats.
Oh.
So he is one, and DeVry, who dies, is the Harkonnen one, the bald one, the guy from
Yes.
Suicide Squad.
Yep. Yeah.
He's also a mentat.
Oh, I
So
see.
to me, and I don't know the details on this one, so feel free to tweet at us and give us more info. But I feel like each house probably has one.
Sure, makes sense.
And that. So yeah, the mentats can think. Ben, question for you. And I did a little bit of research on this, and this is going to catch you out of left field, but I think you're going to enjoy this. So Joseph Campbell is a huge influence on the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
I was reading and trying to find parallels between Joseph Campbell and Dune. There's a few, to the point where actually Joseph Campbell and Frank Herbert knew each other.
Of course.
So I'd be curious, because I don't really know the works of Joseph Campbell as intimately as you do. Do you see parallels there with Dune and inspiration?
I mean, absolutely. Like you have the unwitting hero who has to be reborn and acquire power from a source that is not himself, but is actually in himself all along, right? Is he trained in, the methodology of being everything that he needs to be for his culture, which is like that's the penultimate hero story, is you have to accept everything that's put on you by culture. And then you go hilariously, like, and I love his metaphor from Nietzsche here, is, you go into the desert, literally in the story. You start as a camel and you tell society, put a load on me. I will carry as much as I can. And then you go out into the desert and you throw off everything that society gives you. And you actually, in the desert, in the metaphor, you fight a dragon. And the name of the dragon is Thou Shalt. And every scale on the dragon is something society wants you to do. And you have to rip that apart. And then you are reborn as a child. Well, you transform from a camel into a lion to fight the dragon. You destroy the dragon, and then you're reborn as a child, but you don't act as a child. You have the freedom and intelligence and openness of a child, but you have been through the thou shalt system that taught you how you're supposed to behave culturally, so you can return to your entire culture with whatever you've learned and transform them in a way that is meaningful, because they know that you can play the game. And since you could play the game and you overcame all of it, you become that hero figure. And so we see the beginning of that, right? He is saddled with everything, everyone's culture, the Bene Gesserit, all the conflicts between the Harkonnens and the Atreides. He is supposed to be everything, right?
He's the Duke now too.
Yeah. And he's
on top of all of that.
And so he has, much like in, Greek mythology, right? He has taken all of culture, and he is the hero figure now. And then he shows up and finds out that he's actually the hero to the Fremen too. These people that he doesn't even know yet. And so he has to go. And I find this really is interesting parallel here as well. you see the incredible wealth that everyone has. And then everyone's like, oh, the Fremen, they're like, they're just savages living in the desert. But you find out that the Fremen are probably the most free and open society that exists in there because they're protected by the thing everyone else wants. And it's really interesting because his father lays out the path to what he needs to do to get to the next step of his hero's journey, which is he needs to acquire desert power, right?
Yeah.
He has to acquire and that is what he is going to bring back to House Atreides, and to the whole universe eventually, as the savior figure. So there are really strong parallels. I mean, because, Joseph Campbell's works on mythology and specifically on heroes, it's the story we can't stop telling, even if we fucking try to, because it's the underpinning of the journey that draws us in.
It's woven into our DNA, in my opinion, is that hero story, if you will.
Oh yeah.
And we all want to tell it on some level, personally and publicly. The way you described the Fremen completely reminded me of the wildlings.
Oh, totally.
And the way Mance Raider would talk about the wildlings, he's like, well, we don't have much, but we're free.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the whole point. And I don't even think the Fremen would even say like we don't have much. The Fremen probably think they're richer than anyone because of the way they live. And they have the spice.
They have the spice.
Who controls the spice controls the universe.
They have
I would love to know more on the science of that too. Like, how is it? Why is it just that thing that gives them the ability to travel space and stuff? So I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah, I mean, the spice is two-sided. On the one side, think of if there was, and maybe there is, and I'm just not thinking of it. Think if there was some sort of mineral that one could enhance humanity's senses and have them see, depending on how it hits you, see the future. It's a remedy for sickness.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's this all-purpose herbal thing. I don't even know how to describe it. And then on the other side, it's also fuel for hyperspace travel. Because think, Tim, the only way they can travel through hyperspace and get from planet to planet is a Mentat has to plot the journey,
right.
And the fuel is the spice.
Yeah.
Because they don't use AI computers, so it all has to be done manually, and the spice is the fuel.
The fuel in that sense. I thought it was actually powering the ships.
I did too for a long time.
I thought it was like a combustion source
kid,
as well. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
No, it allows the charting to happen that's necessary for interstellar travel.
I totally understand. Yeah. So they have.
It's also the fuel in that.
Oh, it
sense.
is a fuel.
It's both.
So it is a combustion source.
When I tell you it's the most important thing in the game, that's why the line is he rules the spice, rules the universe.
So it's everything.
It's the most important thing in the galaxy.
Man, it's crazy to put that much wealth on one item within a story. Like that's crazy.
But think about what it's protected by.
Sure.
These gigantic sandworms.
Yeah.
That they have no way of fighting.
Right.
The Shai Hulud.
That's dope. I get like I was really sad when it ended because it left me at such a cliffhanger. And to your point, Kevin, you had said during dinner, like this is going to be the next generation's Lord of the Rings. Like it was like, like our kids will watch this and be like, oh, wow. Whereas like when we watched Lord of the Rings on the big screen, it was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
this will be, you will, when Kyler's old enough, because I'm going through this now with Hunter. I have been through it with Audrey. This will be part of the, coming of age of a nerd, if you will.
Sure.
That's
like
the best
Star
way
Wars
to put
and
it.
stuff. Yeah.
When you sit down and watch The Empire Strikes Back, you're going to turn and look at Kyler and wait for that moment.
Yeah.
When he said, "No, I am your father,"
I'm like,
and you're going to be like, "Oh, there it is." If it doesn't get ruined for them, which it didn't get ruined for Audrey, I still can't figure out how that happened. The shock on their face, and Hunter's saying the shock is always like, oh my God, what? And then, and then you're going to watch Lord of the Rings with them, and, Boromir's going to die, and they're going to be like, and then Gandalf's going to show up at Helm's Deep, and you're going to be like, this will have the same effect. That you will have the moments with your family and your friends that you can experience this. Dune Part 2 in 2023. God willing that COVID is in a place that's manageable, I don't think I would want to watch it at home.
Yeah.
I would have to go to the theater. And there's very few movies where I'm like, I have to go to the theater.
Agreed.
Superhero movies, mainly Batman. Now, mostly Marvel movies. If another big one comes out, I will go. If there's ever a Middle Earth, I will go. Star Wars, obviously, we go. Dune is now part of that I don't know what we call it, pantheon of lore. I don't know how to phrase it, but no, it's important, and it's inspired me to now go back once I'm through a lot of these Star Wars books. I'm gonna go listen to the Audible version because it's fully voice acted. By the way, Tim.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not a he said she said. It is a full. It's like the Lorna D book.
Yeah, which is really good. Really enjoying that.
To close it on the two books, Tim's reading the Lorna D book right now, which really fleshed out the High Republic, and I'm on the Ronin, as they call it in the Visions world.
To read that.
It's very good, Ben, and I think you will enjoy it a lot because it is free from the restraints of what canon Star Wars is, so it kind of does whatever it wants.
That's so hot.
And it completely mirrors feudal Japan fusing into the Star Wars universe. So the Jedi are technically part of the Empire. They have these huge dreadnoughts. They serve their emperor and their lords, and the Sith are the renegade faction that's separated from that. But it's good. It's good stuff. But yeah, that's it. Any final thoughts on Dune, gentlemen?
I'm excited that there's finally a movie that captures the scope of the universe. I think that you can appreciate Dune as the cultural force that it has been for so many people who've been like passionate about the books. My big concern going into everything is like, I've seen the miniseries, I've seen the original movies, and everything felt like confusing and weird and just didn't quite hit the point. My final thought on the movie is like, it really is a standalone example of like, when I was watching the movie, I was like, this is the scale, right? Like, this is the size and scope of the universe, and they finally got it right. So I think it's going to stand out as something that redefines how we approach large scale cinema.
I look at Dune and I look at Lord of the Rings, and you look at both directors, and they're people that it was their lifelong dream to bring that to life. And you can feel the passion in both of those movies, that this was a dream come true to have the opportunity to do this. And it had to be that. It had to be true to what it was, as close as they could get it, obviously, with dealing with the bureaucrats at the studio, and then, having to fit it within budgets and whatnot. But they both nailed the vibe. And that, even Star Wars with Lucas, like, that was his dream to make that movie. And of course, it's gone off the rails in all sorts of places, and we love it. But nothing is better than those first three movies. They'll always be the core, and the passion is realized in there. So Dune captures that essence because Denis cared so, like, this was his dream. He's made a ton of movies, but he's like, no, my dream was to make Dune come alive for this generation, and he did a very good job. I forgot that the reason that I read the books was because of that shitty miniseries. Because my buddy was like, you have to read this. You're going to love this miniseries. Da, 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 da. And it was like 2002 or something.
Oh.
And that is why I read the book.
Yeah.
I remember going to Barnes & Noble, buying the book, and I read it because of that miniseries. I think I watched 2 episodes. I was like, this is garbage.
Yeah, it was not awesome.
That was back when sci-fi was like, oh yeah, we could make anything. Yeah, just fucking just put it on sci-fi. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, Sharknado.
Yeah.
Tim, any final thoughts?
It was really fun. I just, like, as someone who wasn't familiar with the universe, I think they did a really good job of introducing everything to a new viewer. I like it. I'm excited for more. I wish that I wish I could just watch all of them, kind of like Lord of the Rings, in the way where it's like, it was fun to watch them as they came out, but it's really fun to just watch them back to back to back and just do like a binge marathon. Dune's going to be that for me. Dune will probably end up being one of those things that I enjoy watching again and putting it back to back to back. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
excited for more.
I agree with that. And there's lots more coming. We had dinner with George from Leviathan Core a few weeks ago, and he was telling us how Wheel of Time, is coming.
Oh,
and we should
yeah.
be really excited about that. And then, for me, the two big things I would like to see play out on screen would be the Elder Scrolls world come to life on a screen, and Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
I know why no one wants to make Warhammer 40K, because that fan base.
Yeah. They're brutal.
And I've heard Games Workshop, like, it's available, but the price to get the licensing to make it is like astronomical. But I don't know. Maybe one day in my lifetime, I'll see those things play out on the screen.
Maybe we'll just get
see.
maybe we'll get super rich at Rare Drop and make Warhammer 40K movies.
We'll do it ourselves.
Fuck it.
We'll do it live. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 59 of Star Wars and Scotch. Ben, thank you for joining us for this episode.
Thank
it
you
was
for
fun
having
chatting
me.
with you about Book of Boba Fett and Dune. Book of Boba Fett, I believe the special is next week, right, Tim, for Book of Boba Fett?
Yes.
On Friday of next
Holy
week.
shit.
Yeah, either the 11th or 12th. Yeah.
So if it's coming out next week, which like we think it is, I think Tim and I will probably skip a day and then record after we watch that, so it's fresh in our minds, and see what happens. So the episode for next week might come out a little bit later than this week, but know that the purpose of that is to cover that little Book of Boba teaser. As we said, make sure you get your King's Coast coffee. Head over to highscoretees.com and make sure you're paying attention because Black Friday is going to be huge over there.
Huge.
So much stuff. And again, order as soon as you can, no matter what you're buying. And even not our products. If you're buying for your kids or your friends or whatever, order now. Now. You don't want to be disappointed. But thank you so much for joining us again. You can check out Benny's Professor Broman everywhere on the internet and streams noon to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Yep.
On twitch.tv/ProfessorBroman. You can check out Timmy's Darkness 429, fb.gg/Darkness429, 9 a.m. Monday through Friday as well. And I'm Kevin. Everything I do is on raredrop.co. So head over there, say hello, and we will see you next time. Ben, why don't you, as the guest, leave everyone with a "May the Force be with you"?
Oh, thank you for listening, everyone. May the Force be with you. And also with you.
Yes! Yes!